Welcome back to my channel, The Coins World. Today we are diving into the fascinating history of the Philippine 10 Sentimo coin from 1972. This small yet historically significant coin carries with it decades of national identity, cultural symbolism, and economic change. Though modest in denomination, the 10 Sentimo of 1972 reflects a very important moment in the Philippines' journey as a nation rebuilding and modernizing after independence, while at the same time embracing its cultural pride. Let us go deep into its story, and by the end, you will realize why this coin deserves more respect than its face value suggests. The 10 Sentimo coin of 1972 was part of the Bagang Lipunan series, a program launched during the administration of Ferdinand Marcos. The phrase Bagang Lipunan translates to the new society, representing a national vision of restructuring and rebuilding both socially and economically. Every coin in this series carried that inscription as a constant reminder of this political and cultural shift. Made primarily of copper nickel, the 197-10 Sentimo was designed to be durable, practical, and affordable to mint. Its composition symbolized resilience, a fitting reflection of a nation that had gone through colonization war and independence struggles. Unlike the larger denominations that featured more prominent figures, the 10 Sentimo represented the grassroots level of Filipino currency, the kind of coin that circulated in marketplaces, jeepney fairs, and small shops. On its obverse, the coin proudly bears the image of Francisco Baltazar, also known as Francisco Baltazar, the legendary Filipino poet. His inclusion on the coin honored the cultural and literary heritage of the Philippines. Baltazar's epic work Flora and Fauna has been celebrated as a cornerstone of Philippine literature, and by placing his likeness on a coin, the government was reminding every Filipino of their cultural depth and identity. The reverse of the 10 Sentimo, 1972, featured the coat of arms of the Republic of the Philippines, alongside the denomination and the year of issue. The national coat of arms reinforced sovereignty, unity, and independence, while also serving as a constant reminder of patriotism in everyday life. The year 1972 was a turning point in Philippine history. It was the year martial law was declared, which had profound political, social, and economic implications. This makes the coins minted during this year historically significant. They are not just money but also silent witnesses to a time of dramatic change and national transformation. The circulation of the 1972 10 Sentimo was widespread. It was a common coin that millions of Filipinos handled daily. Whether used to buy candies, newspapers, or small necessities, it was a part of everyday life. Its presence in the pockets of workers, students, and ordinary families meant it became deeply woven into Filipino society. The coin's small size belied its importance. At a time when inflation was slowly creeping in, even the smallest denominations still purchasing power. Children in particular associated the 10 Sentimo with simple joys, like buying sweets from sari-sari stores. Collectors today look at the 1972 10 Sentimo with great interest. Not only does it represent a historical era, but also it carries cultural symbolism through the figure of Francisco Baltazar. For numismatists, coins like these provide insights into what values and figures the nation celebrated during particular times. In terms of rarity, circulated pieces of the 1972 10 Sentimo are still relatively easy to find, but uncirculated or mint-condition coins are far more valuable. The wear and tear from decades of handling make pristine examples increasingly scarce, which in turn adds to their collectible appeal. The design of the 10 Sentimo also reflects the mid-20th century approach to coinage in the Philippines. Simple, practical, yet filled with meaning. Its artistic elements were carefully chosen to honor national heroes and uphold patriotism. Beyond its physical attributes, the coin carries emotional value. For many Filipinos who lived through the 1970s, holding a 1972 10 Sentimo coin today can bring back memories of childhood, family struggles, and simpler times. This emotional connection makes it far more than a piece of metal. The Bagang Lipunan inscription has become a controversial part of its history. For some, it represents a time of discipline and national rebuilding, while for others it recalls the hardships of martial law. The coin, therefore, becomes a medium of reflection on history, where the interpretation depends on personal and collective memory. Globally, collectors outside the Philippines also seek coins like the 1972 10 Sentimo because they represent transitional moments in world history. where newly independent nations were carving out their identities. For them, it's not just about the coin's value, but also about the story it tells. Over time, as inflation rendered small denominations nearly obsolete, the 10 Sentimo began to fade from everyday circulation. By the 2000s, it was rarely used, replaced by higher value coins. This adds another layer of nostalgia, as the younger generations may never encounter it in daily life. Of President Ferdinand Marcos, who had been in power since 1965, the nation was experiencing significant political tension, economic challenges, and growing calls for reform. The Central Bank of the Philippines, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, BSP, was responsible for issuing the country's coinage, which reflected the economic and cultural identity of the nation. The 1985 1 Piso coin belonged to the Flora and Fauna Series, a set of coins introduced in 1983 to replace the previous ng Bagong Lipunan ABL series. This series aimed to showcase the country's natural heritage, featuring plants, flowers, and animals alongside notable Filipino heroes. The engraving was sharp and detailed, reflecting advances in minting technology of the period. The reverse shows the Philippine coconut palm, Cocos nucifera, a plant deeply tied to Philippine agriculture, economy, and culture. Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas encircling the top. The value 1 Piso prominently at the center. The coconut tree represents the versatility and economic importance of the Philippines. Agricultural products. The coin was minted in large quantities by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas and, in some cases, through contracted mints abroad for efficiency. The copper-nickel alloy was chosen for durability and resistance to corrosion in the humid, tropical climate of the Philippines. 1985. The Philippine peso faced inflationary pressures due to political unrest and a weakening economy. The value of the peso was declining compared to major foreign currencies, making coins like the 1 Piso more common for everyday, small transactions rather than large purchases. At the time, Philippine peso 1 could still buy small snacks, jeepney fares, or a loaf of bread, quite different from today's purchasing power. The 1 Piso, 1985 coin was part of a broader effort to promote national pride. Each denomination in the series carried an image of an important plant or animal species, pairing it with a hero to symbolize the richness of both Philippine history and nature. 1985 1 Piso remained in circulation until the BSP launched the BSP series in 1991, which replaced the Flora and Fauna designs with new ones. January 2, 1998, the BSP demonetized the Flora and Fauna coins, meaning they were no longer legal tender. However, they remain collectible today, especially in uncirculated or proof condition. Common circulated condition: low numismatic value, often 10 to 20 Philippine pesos for average worn coins. Uncirculated condition can fetch higher prices: Philippine peso 50 to 150, depending on mint state and rarity of strike. Proof or mint error coins, these can be more valuable, especially if they show doubling, MIS strikes, or off-center minting. Collectors often seek the 1985 issue because it is among the later years of the Flora and Fauna 1 Piso before the redesign. The 19851 Piso is more than just an old coin, it's a small piece of Philippine history. It represents the artistry of coin design during the Marcos era. 1 Piso coin minted in 1985 came at a turbulent time in Philippine history. President Ferdinand Marcos had been in power for 2 decades, and the country was under heavy political strain. The assassination of opposition leader Benigno Ninoy Aquino Jr. in 1983 had intensified public dissent, leading to a period of uncertainty. The economy was struggling, and inflation was slowly eroding the value of the peso. 1983, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, BSP, made the decision to retire the ng Bagong Lipunan ABL coinage series, which had been closely tied to the Marcos era political slogan New Society. The replacement, the Flora and Fauna Series, was meant to focus less on politics and more on national pride, celebrating the Philippines' rich biodiversity, while still honoring national heroes. Jose Acute Rizal, featured on the 1985 1 Piso obverse, was not a new face in Philippine coinage. His image had appeared on multiple peso coins since the 1960s. By keeping Rizal on the largest base denomination coin, the BSP ensured that the country's most revered hero remained part of daily transactions. His presence reinforced ideals of education, patriotism, and reform. The reverse design featuring the coconut tree was more than aesthetic. In the 1980s, coconuts were a major export commodity for the Philippines, especially in the form of copra and coconut oil. The tree's versatility providing food, drink, shelter, and raw materials symbolized the resilience and resourcefulness of the Filipino people. The coin's copper-nickel composition was chosen for durability, but there was also an economic factor. Rising metal prices meant the BSP had to balance durability with cost efficiency. Copper-nickel alloys provided a silvery appearance while resisting corrosion in the Philippines. Humid climate. Back then, the 1 peso coin had substantial purchasing power. In Manila, 1 peso could pay for a short jeepney ride, buy a small serving of halo-halo, or get a pack of chewing gum. In rural areas, it could cover the price of fresh produce or a newspaper. It was truly a workhorse denomination, pairing a hero with a plant. The Flora and Fauna Series, visually tied together to major pillars of the Philippines' identity, its human legacy, and its natural heritage. The 19851 Piso reinforced this connection every time it exchanged hand. While the coin looked impressive, the value of the peso was slowly declining. In the 1980s, the government faced debt crises, and the exchange rate against the US dollar weakened. This economic reality meant that coins like the 1 peso began to be used for smaller, everyday items rather than medium-value transactions. The BSP used modern coin presses, capable of high-speed production. Each 1985 1 peso blank was punched from copper-nickel sheets, then struck with dies engraved with the Rizal portrait and coconut design. Quality control was strict, but occasional mint errors, which was officially released by the Banco Central ng Pilipinas BSP in December 2011 and fully circulated in the years following, including 2013. This series replaced the BSP coin series, issued from 1995 to 2017 for some denominations, with a modern, unified design that incorporated updated security features, lighter weight metals, and themes that showcase the country's rich history and natural heritage. Before 2011, the BSP noticed that the smaller denominations, especially centavo coins, were underused or often hoarded and melted for scrap because of rising metal prices. The new series aimed to reduce production costs by using cheaper metal alloys, modernize the national currency design, and promote national symbols. By 2013, the NGC coins were in full production, including the 10 Sentimo, which had a fresh look compared to previous decades. Issues. The 10 Sentimo 2013 coin featured a minimalist yet symbolic design. The denomination 10 Sentimo prominently displayed the official seal of the Banco Central ng Pilipinas, updated in 2010 to a modern look. Smooth edges, unlike earlier reeded designs of past coins. To make the coin cost-effective, the BSP used nickel-plated steel for the 10 Sentimo. This metal was durable, rust-resistant, and less expensive than the copper-based alloys of older coins. The coin had a small diameter, around 17 millimeters, and was very lightweight, making it the smallest denomination in the NGC series. 2013, inflation had significantly reduced the purchasing power of the 10 Sentimo coin. It was primarily used for exact change in supermarkets, public transportation fare adjustments, and utility bill payments. Despite its limited buying power, the coin remained essential for accounting purposes and was legally required to be accepted as part of exact payments. The inclusion of the Kappa plant was part of the BSP's initiative to highlight native flora on lower denomination coins. This plant is known for its striking pink bracts and flowers, symbolizing beauty and natural pride. It also reflected the Philippines' commitment to biodiversity preservation, as the coin series featured native plants on smaller denominations and native fauna on higher coins. The year 2013 was significant for the BSP because it was in the early stages of completely transitioning to the NGC coin series. During this time, the mint faced challenges in public education about the new designs, as many Filipinos initially found the new coins too similar in color and size. While the 2013 10 Sentimo is not rare in circulated condition, uncirculated and proof-like specimens are sought by collectors. These coins have value mainly for numismatic completeness, especially for those building full-year sets of the NGC series. Certain error coins from 2013, such as off-center strikes or misaligned dies, can fetch higher prices in the collector's market.